You're still not doing anything with your life, are you? Just sitting around wasting potential. Aunt Karen laughed. A sharp sound that made my heart sink into my stomach as she swirled her wine glass, the red liquid catching the light. The heat crept up my neck, spreading to my cheeks. I could feel everyone's eyes on me, waiting. The family dinner I'd been looking forward to had suddenly become a trap. That's not true. I'm just trying to figure things out, I defended myself, hating how my voice cracked slightly. Mom jumped in, her face tense as she set down her fork with more force than necessary. Karen, that's not necessary. He's only 12. He has time. But Aunt Karen waved her hand dismissively, gold bracelets jangling. Time? Ha! When I was her age, I was already running my own little business selling lemonade. Made $50 in a weekend. She leaned forward, eyes narrowing. She'll never achieve anything with that attitude. Just wait and see. I looked down at my plate, feeling the tears threaten to spill. The lasagna I'd been so excited about now looked like a pile of mush. Why did she have to say that? I wanted to shout, to tell her she was wrong. But the words caught in my throat like fish bones. That day, it was just another family dinner, or so I thought. The table was set with Mom's best china, steam rising from the serving dishes. The smell of Mom's famous lasagna filled the air, rich with garlic and herbs. My stomach growled audibly as I settled into my seat. The clink of silverware filled the silence until Aunt Karen piped up from the other end of the table. She dabbed at her mouth with her napkin, those hawk-like eyes zeroing in on me. "What's wrong, Alex? You look like a lost puppy," she chuckled. And the laughter in the room faded a bit. Everyone seemed to stop breathing for a moment. I shrugged it off, focusing on cutting my lasagna into perfect squares. "Nothing, Aunt Karen." That's when she dropped her bombshell, the words that would change everything. "Don't listen to her, Alex," Dad said, leaning closer to me. His voice dropped to a whisper only I could hear. "You're capable of great things. Just follow your heart." But his words didn't reach me. They bounced off the invisible shield of shame that had wrapped around me. I felt small and useless, just as Aunt Karen said. After dinner, I sat on the couch, trying to blink away the tears that kept forming. The TV was on, but I couldn't focus on it. My mind kept replaying Aunt Karen's words, each repetition cutting deeper. Mom came over and sat beside me, the couch dipping under her weight. She smelled like cinnamon and comfort. "Hey, don't mind what Aunt Karen said. She can be, well, a little harsh," she said gently, tucking a strand of hair behind my ear. "But it's true. I'm not doing anything," I replied, my voice wobbly. "Jackson's already building computers, and Emma's winning art contests. What am I doing?" "Alex, listen to me," Dad chimed in from the kitchen, where he was loading the dishwasher. The plates clattered softly as he spoke. "You are not useless. You have dreams, don't you?" "Yeah, but I never go after them." "What if I never achieve anything?" I asked, feeling a knot in my stomach tighten with each word. "Everyone takes their own path," Mom said, her arm wrapping around my shoulders. "Some people bloom early, others late. You just have to find yours." "But Aunt Karen—" "Forget Aunt Karen," Dad interrupted, coming to stand in front of me. His eyes were fierce with a protective fire. "You're better than that. You just need to believe in yourself." I took a deep breath, letting their words swirl in my mind. Aunt Karen's voice was still there, but quieter now, competing with my parents' encouragement. Maybe I could prove her wrong. I didn't want to be her idea of useless. "I'll show her," I said quietly, more to myself than anyone else. Mom smiled softly, hope lighting up her face. "That's the spirit, Alex. Use her words as fuel. Let them drive you to be better." I looked at her, feeling something shift inside me, a tiny spark igniting. "I will. I'll work hard and chase my dreams. I'll show her." Dad grinned, ruffling my hair. "That's my boy. Go out there and make it happen." With those thoughts in my mind and their support behind me, I felt the shift grow stronger. I wouldn't let Aunt Karen's words define me anymore. I would prove her wrong. And that night, as I lay in bed staring at the glow in the dark stars on my ceiling, a new fire ignited in my heart. I was ready to fight for my future. I was ready to be more than what she thought. I woke up the next morning with that fire still burning in my belly. The sun streamed through my curtains, dust motes dancing in the light. Aunt Karen's words echoed in my mind, but instead of crushing me, they pushed me forward. "I'll show her," I whispered to myself, throwing off my covers. I wanted to make something of myself, and I knew exactly where to start. "Hey, Dad," I called as I rushed into the kitchen, still in my pajamas with my hair sticking up at odd angles. Dad looked up from his coffee, surprise written across his face. "What's got you so energetic this morning?" "Can we work on business stuff today?" I asked, bouncing on my toes. His eyebrows shot up. "Business stuff? You're interested in learning more?" I nodded eagerly, sliding into a chair across from him. "I want to know everything. How you started your shop, how you manage the money, how you deal with customers. I want to own a business someday." He smiled, and I could see a sparkle in his eyes that wasn't there before. "That's great, Alex. How about you come to the shop with me this weekend? We can dive into the world of business together." "Really, that would be awesome," I replied, feeling excitement bubble up inside me like a shaken soda can. Saturday couldn't come fast enough. When it finally arrived, I was up before my alarm, dressed and ready to go. The shop was small but full of life. The bell above the door jingled as customers came and went, and Dad greeted each one with a big smile. "Welcome. Can I help you find something?" His energy was contagious, and I found myself standing taller, watching his every move. "Alex, come here," Dad called to me during a quiet moment. He pointed to the cash register, an old model with buttons that clicked satisfyingly when pressed. "Do you want to learn about handling money?" "Definitely," I said, stepping closer, my eyes wide with interest. "All right, this is where we count the cash," he explained, opening the drawer to reveal neat stacks of bills and rolls of coins. "You need to be careful with it. Every penny counts in business." I watched closely as he demonstrated, his fingers moving deftly through the bills. "You want to keep track of sales too. It's important to know how well your business is doing." I started taking notes in a small notebook I'd brought, jotting down everything Dad said with such concentration that my tongue stuck out slightly. "What's the most important thing to remember?" I asked, looking up from my scribbles. Dad paused, thinking. He leaned against the counter, crossing his arms. "Be honest with your customers. Trust is everything when you're running a business. Once you lose that trust, it's nearly impossible to get back." "Got it. Trust is important," I repeated, writing it down in capital letters and underlining it twice. As the weeks passed, I spent every free moment studying. I read books about business and finance that I checked out from the library, watched videos online, and asked Dad endless questions during dinner. Mom joked that I was becoming a mini CEO. Then, one day at school, I overheard some older kids talking about a business competition. This is it, I thought, my heart racing. I had to enter. I rushed to find Ms. Peterson, my favorite teacher. "Ms. Peterson, can anyone join the business competition?" I asked breathlessly. She smiled down at me. "Well, it's usually for the older students, but I don't see why you couldn't try. Do you have an idea?" "I'm working on it," I promised, already brainstorming in my head. That evening, I burst through the front door. "Dad, I want to join the competition at school." Dad looked up from his newspaper, raising an eyebrow. "Are you ready for it? Those competitions can be tough." "I've been learning a lot. I think I can do it," I said, my heart racing with anticipation. He folded his paper slowly, studying my face. Then he smiled, a warm, proud smile that made my chest swell. "Then go for it. I believe in you." I brainstormed for days, covering my bedroom floor with crumpled papers. My project was all about starting a lemonade stand, but with a twist. I would use organic ingredients, offer different flavor combinations, and donate a portion of the profits to charity. On the day of the competition, my stomach was tied in knots. The cafeteria had been transformed with rows of tables, each displaying a different project. Mine looked small compared to the elaborate displays of the older students, but I stood tall behind it. When my turn came to present, I took a deep breath and stepped in front of the judges. "Hi, I'm Alex. Today, I'm here to share my business idea with you." I explained every detail, my voice shaking a little at first, but growing stronger with each word. As I spoke, I saw the judges nodding, exchanging impressed glances. My stand will not only serve delicious lemonade, but it will also help the community. I believe business isn't just about making money. It's about making a difference. When I finished, the room erupted in applause. My heart soared like a balloon released into the sky. A few days later, I was sitting in class when Ms. Peterson walked in with a special announcement. "Alex, you won the competition," she announced, her voice ringing with excitement. I could hardly believe it, blinking rapidly as if that would help me process the news. "Really? Are you serious?" "Yes." "The judges were impressed by your passion and creativity. You did an amazing job," she said, smiling brightly as she handed me a certificate. The whole class clapped, and for once, I felt like I was standing in a spotlight that didn't make me want to hide. I couldn't wait to share the news with Dad. I practically flew home, my backpack bouncing against my spine with each step. I won the business competition," I shouted when I burst through the door, waving my certificate like a flag. Dad was in the kitchen, and he turned with surprise before his face broke into a wide grin. He pulled me into a big hug, lifting me off the ground and spinning me around. "I knew you could do it. This is just the beginning, Alex." I laughed, the joy bubbling out of me like a fountain. "I want to own my own business one day, Dad. A real one, bigger than a lemonade stand." "You will," he said confidently, setting me down but keeping his hands on my shoulders. His eyes were serious but full of belief. "Just keep believing in yourself." That day, I felt a wave of confidence wash over me. I had proven Aunt Karen wrong, and I was just getting started. The seed of determination she had unintentionally planted had begun to grow into something stronger than either of us could have imagined. Graduation day finally arrived. The years had flown by in a blur of hard work, late nights studying, and small victories that built my confidence piece by piece. I could hardly believe I was standing in my cap and gown, the tassel tickling my cheek as I moved, ready to step into a new chapter of my life. "Look at you, Alex, you did it," Mom said, beaming with pride as she adjusted my cap for the 5th time that morning. Her eyes were misty, and I pretended not to notice. "Thanks, Mom," I replied, smiling back at her. The familiar scent of her perfume was comforting amid the excitement and nerves. "I couldn't have done it without your support." Dad joined us, giving me a big pat on the back that nearly knocked the wind out of me. "You've come a long way, son. I'm proud of you." I felt a swell of joy rise in my chest. All my hard work was paying off, each small step leading me here to this moment. After graduation, I landed a job at a young startup company downtown. The office was buzzing with energy, and everyone was so creative and passionate. The first day was exciting, but I felt a hint of fear creeping in as I sat at my new desk, surrounded by people who seemed so confident. What if I mess up, I thought, adjusting my tie for the 3rd time. What if I'm not good enough for this? "First day jitters, huh?" my new boss, Sarah, said as she walked by, a stack of folders in her arms and a knowing smile on her face. "Don't worry, just be yourself. You'll do great." "Thanks, I hope so," I said, trying to feel as brave as I sounded. As the weeks rolled on, I dove into my work with everything I had. I stayed late, learning everything I could about the business. I volunteered for projects others avoided and asked questions that showed my curiosity and drive. "Alex, you've got a great work ethic," Sarah said one day, stopping by my desk as the office was emptying out for the night. "Keep pushing yourself." "I'm just trying to learn as much as I can," I replied, determined to make my mark in this world. Every paycheck felt like a victory, tangible proof of my value. With each tiny amount I saved, I felt closer to my dream of owning my business. I even started setting aside money specifically to invest in my own venture someday. At home, Mom and Dad watched me with pride, their eyes following me as I moved through life with purpose now. "You're doing amazing things, Alex," Dad said during dinner one night. His fork paused midway to his mouth. "You're really growing up." "Thanks, Dad. I'm just following the path," I said, smiling at them both, grateful for their unwavering support. But there was still a lingering feeling from Aunt Karen's words all those years ago. Even though I was doing well, I hardly heard from her. She'd moved to another state, and our family gatherings had become rarer. She doesn't know how hard I'm working, I thought, brushing away the doubt that still tried to creep in sometimes. Then one day, Aunt Karen showed up unannounced at our house. "Hello, everyone. Just stopping by while I'm in town for business." She had the same sharp grin, and I felt a knot form in my stomach instantly. "Hey, Aunt Karen," I said, trying to keep my tone friendly despite the memories that flooded back. "What a surprise," our mom said, welcoming her in with a slightly stiff hug. "We were just talking about Alex's job at that innovative startup." "Oh, really?" Aunt Karen said, her eyes narrowing as she turned to me, giving me a once-over. "And how's that going for you, Alex? Still chasing those dreams?" "Actually, I'm doing really well," I replied, wanting to stand tall against her scrutiny. "I've learned a lot, and I'm saving money for my own business someday." She raised her eyebrow, a smirk playing at the corners of her lips. "Oh, is that so? We'll see how long that lasts. Startups can be so tricky, you know. Most don't make it past the first year." I clenched my fists, feeling anger bubble up inside me like a pot about to boil over. "I'm not giving up. I'm determined to succeed," I said, my voice steady despite the way my heart raced. Mom jumped in, her protective instincts flaring. "Alex has been putting in a lot of hard work, Karen. He deserves respect for how far he's come." "Hard work won't always pay off," she said dismissively, examining her manicured nails. "Just wait and see. The real world isn't as forgiving as school competitions." At that moment, I felt a flicker of something deep in my gut. A renewed determination, hotter and more focused than before. "I will show her," I thought, fiercely. "I'll prove to her that I'm not that lost little kid anymore." Later that night, as I lay in bed, I pushed away the doubts that tried to crowd my mind. Aunt Karen seemed oblivious to my determination, but that only fueled my drive. I was not going to prove her right. I whispered to myself, "One day, I'll make her see." With renewed determination, I promised myself to work even harder. I would reach my goals and become someone who made a difference. And no one, not even Aunt Karen, could take that away from me.